Card Kings, here I come. Hello, music fans, music collectors, and all hobbyists. Welcome to the Card King Sports and Variety Show. I am your host, the Catman, Brian Cataquet, a.k.a. the Card King. We are live on ABC's KMET 1490 AM.com. Your number one spot right here for news and talk on the West Coast. I thank everyone for tuning in this morning. On the program, I welcome in with honor a founding member of the iconic rock band Blue Oyster Cult, a band which has sold over 25 million records worldwide. I welcome in the great Joe Bouchard. Joe, great to have you back.
Hey, it's great to be here. Great to talk to you again.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Big fan of yours and the band's. So I want to begin. So, Joe, you were so instrumental in shaping the sound of Blue Oyster Cult for 16 years with music hits like Don't Fear the Reaper, Burning for You, and so on. Do you miss those early days with BOC?
Yeah, kind of, but I miss my youth. It was a ball. What can I say? It was the best. We were, the big event in every town we played, every city we played, every stadium, every arena. We were the big event in town. People would look forward to that for months and months. We were the big item. So that's good. But I'm in it for the music. So the fame is good too. But I just love making music. If there was only 4 people that listened to me, I would be, oh, that's good. I'll do more. But
and what I wanted to ask you, Joe, in a nutshell, if you can give us the first 10 years for those listening that may not know, give us in a nutshell the first 10 years of Blue Oyster Cult.
Oh my God. Let's see. I joined in 1970. So that was an incredible decade. The 70s, a lot of people talk about the music of the 70s was nothing like it. It was the music business was kind of young. It was very young then, even though the Beatles and all of that had been around before us. It was a new world, shows got bigger and bigger. We struggled for, I was only in the band for 1 year. Then we signed a deal with Columbia Records, and we did an audition for Clive Davis. He liked us. I guess the people that he worked with, they said, you guys, you should get these guys on Columbia. We said, this is the best, because Columbia had, a lot of great artists, like Bob Dylan, and how could you beat that, So we were like one of their first hard rock bands, you could say. And we just dug into touring, played for so many different bands, Kiss, Aerosmith, Bob Seger, the Savoy Brown Blues Band. I mean, all kinds of things. Black Sabbath, Uriah Heep. I mean, every day was like, wow, what's going to happen today, And we toughened it out on the road. We honed our chops. The shows got better and bigger. Can't complain. And then we hit the gold mine, which is our big hit, which happened in 1976. So, it didn't happen overnight. There were some rough years there where we were just, wondering if it ever was going to get there. But I don't know. I never doubted it. I believed in the talents of the group and the chemistry. The chemistry is like so important, and we put it together and got a big hit in 1976. Reaper is still one of the biggest songs today. And then the whole thing changed. We were big. We were big for about 6 years. Just one of the biggest groups in the world, the biggest tours in the world. So, yeah, it was all good. Definitely the first 10 years, it was exciting. Traveling to Europe and doing stadiums over there, it was fantastic.
Man, you guys got so big. Didn't Bob Seger open up for you and so
Oh
many
yeah.
others?
Oh
Right?
yeah. Yeah. Rush. Um,
Oh,
Not we were pretty competitive with Aerosmith, I'd say. You know, we would complain that we'd go platinum, they'd go double platinum, you know. And so we saw those guys a lot. And they were good friends of ours. I remember being in the studio with Steven Tyler, and he's sitting on the couch in the studio, and I'm sitting there next to him. He says, "I just can't get this lyric, you know. It's just not a Aerosmith lyric, you know." And I'm thinking, gee, I should just pushed myself on him. So, hey, I got an idea. But I was just too shy, you know. I was too shy to but we were literally shoulder to shoulder in the studio with those guys. Yeah, great time.
and Joe, I was going to ask you, like during your tenure with Blue Oyster Cult, I mean, you were there for 16 years.
Mhm.
Now, during that time, did you guys were like you said, you were bigger than ever before? Did you ever get offered jobs with other bands, to join during that time?
I don't recall. Uh, in fact, I mean, now I do a lot of guest things, with a lot of amazing musicians. I did a Pink Floyd tribute record, just recently that just blew my mind because Al Di Meola was on it and Billy Cobham. And then I did another one with Rick Wakeman. But back then, I think we were just sort of a unit. And I got a couple of offers after I left the band, but I never followed up on them. I wanted to do something different. I had a young family and I'd missed a lot of their growing up. So it was time to get back into a somewhat normal life, Yeah.
Right. And so this was 1986. You left BOC.
Mhm.
Now, at that time, was the band must have been disappointed that you were departing.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, because I mean, that 16 years,
I
that's
guess.
the sound. You can't replace your sound.
Well, I felt like
can't.
I felt like the dynamic of the group was changing. Alan, actually, our keyboard player, he had left, and it was just the three of us and a couple other guys, who were very good musicians. But there's just something about that original chemistry, which it happened for some reason. It happened, that original chemistry with the original five guys, and I felt that it was moving away from that. So I didn't know what to do or what to expect. But I've had a tremendous life in the last since '86. It was I played with Spencer Davis Group. I was a keyboard player, which I love doing. And played with a lot of people then. I played with Orleans. I went to Iraq. I played for the troops in Iraq in 2010 during a war. My God.
Wow.
I didn't know what I was getting into, to go to Iraq with some of the, two of Elton John's band, Charlie Morgan and John Jorgensen, and singer from Kool and the Gang, and the singer from Santana, the singer from Survivor. And we had this sort of, it was like a classic rock show for the troops, and I didn't know what I was getting into. So, the first thing that happened that kind of cued me that this is not a normal gig. I got a letter from the U.S. government saying, you cannot sue if you die, you cannot sue the U.S. government. I was like, what? I've never seen this before. So I figured, well, Baghdad is a pretty cosmopolitan town. It's got a Hilton. Maybe they'll just have us at the Hilton. We'll play in the ballroom of the Hilton. No, No, when we got there, it was flatbed trucks in the desert.
Is that
And
right?
yeah, but what a ball that was. You know, every night we'd have to fly because you couldn't drive on the roads. The roads were very dangerous. So you didn't get into a bus at the end of the night. You got into a transport plane, a military transport plane, and they would drive you to the next camp. And yeah, but every night was a blast, and the soldiers, you get a whole nother appreciation for the soldiers in uniform. They're so dedicated. I was blown away. And then every night we had a soldier that would come up on stage and play the cowbell.
Oh, is that right?
Every night was a different soldier. Just couldn't wait to get up and play the cowbell with the band. Yeah. It was wow.
Speaking about the cowbell, was that you or was that your brother in the original recording?
The original recording, I swear, on a stack of Bibles, that was my brother who played the cowbell. Because I remember sitting on the couch, and the song, it was a little different from the Saturday Night Live skit because it was an overdub. It wasn't all done live and then the cowbell at the same time. It was the last thing. There was one track left on the tape, the last track, and they're figuring out, well, maybe we should put some percussion on this, you know. And finally, our co-producer, David Lucas, says to Albert, go out there and play a cowbell. I got an idea for a cowbell part. And so I'm sitting there on the couch and I'm going, oh no, don't screw this up. This song sounds so perfect, you know. Anyway, he goes out there and it was one take, done. Perfect. No fix-ups, nothing. Straight through. He did it perfect. And then I could feel my whole body like sinking into the couch, you know, like, oh, thank God. And then I went home, and a couple weeks later came back for the mix. When I heard the mix, I was just blown away. I said, this is really exciting. There was just certain things about it that just so mysterious and glorious and you know, harmonious. It was like nothing we'd ever done, you know. And so, you know, we did a bunch of other great singles after that, you know, and we were, you know, the fact that it's turned into this sort of cultural touchstone blows my mind, you know. And that happened in 2000. So it's coming up on 25 years of more cowbell. Can you believe it? I can't.
And you know, Joe, now after you left BOC, Metallica, they recorded one of your songs, right? Was that the time?
Yeah. It was 11 years later, actually.
Oh, 11 years later.
That was 97.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. So I was working in a publishing company. I learned all about the book business. You know, I did some teaching. You know, I got my master's degree, a few other things, you know. And then I was at my day job working in this publishing company, and I saw on the internet, you know, when I shouldn't have been surfing the internet, that that Metallica was going to do a Blue Oyster Cult song. I said, "Oh, that's great, you know, great for the band and all of that, because Metallica is big, you know, they're really big." And then I found out it was Astronomy, a song that I co-wrote with my brother and our manager, and it changed my life. I quit my day job. I said, "Hey, I got to write more songs." And really, that's what I've been doing since the late 90s. Is like, yeah, get serious about writing songs. You know, I phoned up my friend Ian Hunter. You know Ian Hunter from Mott the Hoople, great, you know, and he lives in Connecticut, not very far from Kent, actually. And I called him up and I said, "Hey, you want to write some songs? Or do you want to go to?" We had a songwriting thing on Monday nights. I drive from Kent down to Weston to Neil Smith's house. We had like a Monday night songwriting session. I said, "Ian, you want to come and, you know, write some songs with the guys?" And said, "Oh, well, I'll just come in and observe," you know. He didn't want to be serious about it, but he was curious, you know, what we were doing. And, you know, he came down there probably for 3 or 4 months every Monday night. And we ended up writing 4 songs together. So that really, you know, changed my life, you know, to sit down with somebody who's a great songwriter and be able to pick his brain, you know, like, what about this? You know, where does this idea come from? You know, and so the 45-minute ride from Kent down to Weston would be like my songwriting lesson, you know. And yeah, it was a great time, you know. I learned a lot. I feel like you can be a rock star, but unfortunately, it's not that quite an intellectual pursuit. Well, maybe if you're Rush, it's an intellectual pursuit, but mostly it's just, you know, being as entertaining as possible, you know, with the sort of science fiction, you know, odd things that we recorded. But after I left, I really felt like I really need to up my my game, and as far as, you know, being able to do more regular things, you know.
Yeah, and I have like I want to get 2 more in, and then I want to play your a single that you wrote. So
Yeah.
Now the new album by Blue Oyster Cult, Ghost Stories, right? That's the name of it.
Yeah.
Were you surprised that they were going to release this new album?
I had no idea that that anything was going to happen. You know, they had put out The Symbol Remains with all those great songs, you know, and I think their record label, which is this Italian company, Frontiers, said, you know, you got to put something out, you know. So Symbol Remains did really well. And the next thing you know, I get a call from the manager that they're putting out this new album called Ghost Stories, which is songs from the 80s that were for whatever reason didn't make the albums that we were doing back then. It was a different world in the 80s, you know. So, you know, styles were changing. We didn't know if our style was right, you know. But they did the magic of modern technology, you know. You know, when the Beatles did that Get Back documentary, and they remixed the songs, taking like a mono track and turning it into a multi-track. It was like, so that's what they did to a lot of these things that were just rehearsal demos. Wow. Just us rehearsing in our sound man's loft, George Gerenius's loft in Brooklyn. And there was a lot of magic there, you know. So they remix it, they put it out, and the first single happens to be a song I wrote that sounds really a lot like Blue Oyster Cult, called So Supernatural. I was messing around with the, you know, a possible, you know, Reaper-ish type of thing, and Supernatural was, yeah. So they put that out as the first single, and it's the most popular song on the album if you look at streaming and things like that. So I was blown away. You know, I hadn't done anything with them in 25, 30 years. I've sent them a few songs over the years, but with no response. So, yeah.
I mean, do you like the current? I don't know if you follow them. Do you like the current lineup, Joe?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Richie especially. But I played with Jules, Richie and Jules, and you know, Danny is fantastic on bass. You know, Danny is probably better than me, even though the fans love the original, of course. original bass, but Danny is fantastic musician and a great guy. So yeah, and I've played with them, and Richie pretty much is the genius though of the current Blue Oyster Cult, if I must say, because he does it all. He does the mixing, he does solos, he writes the songs. He writes a lot of the songs, even though the other guys are still involved in all of that stuff. Yeah, I like the new Blue Oyster Cult. Loved him also when Kazim Sultan was their bass player too. He's a good friend, and but he's doing Todd Rundgren now. So
Joe, if BOC calls you and says, hey, we need you back, Joe, would you go back? We need the original member.
Oh, they could call me and we could negotiate. I'm happy with my own new band.
Yes, talk about that.
Well, I made 7 solo albums, and the last 2 of them, the 6th and the 7th, I got a great drummer, Mickey Curry, who played with Hall & Oates and Bryan Adams and the Cult and Cher, and he's done so many. He's got 40 gold records. Just amazing drummer. And he happens to live nearby in Connecticut. And I said, Mickey, come on, you want to play on my album? And then I said, after those 2 albums with Mickey on drums, he was just, filling in as a session musician. Let's play out. Let's play a real live show. And he had retired completely from the road, because Brian especially, he's on the road, 90 shows in 3 months and all over the world too. And so when COVID hit, Mickey just retired from any kind of long-term thing. So we started working on a new album. We spent 3 months rehearsing. We did it all live in the studio. And then I got a couple of calls from people, why don't you play here? Why don't you play there? And I said, yeah. So we started, I had a former student who runs a horse rescue in Vermont. And that was the first show that we played. And then we played a few shows after that. And we went to Florida recently, did a really nice theater in Florida. And then we did the Iridium just about 2 weeks ago. And that was a fantastic show. Great audience. And I'm thinking, this could maybe work, I mean, we're not going to do, 150 shows, but we could do, a dozen, possibly. And it's just such a great band. And we're starting to mature as a band, It's one thing to bring in session people to do things, but when you're actually on the stage and you got to make it work, you really learn, the different pieces of the puzzle, and that's what I've been doing recently. It's so much fun,
Absolutely. And the website is joebouchard.com for those listening. Yep. They can log in and see your tours coming up. But before we unfortunately have a few minutes left, I want to end it. I want to end it with She's a Legend, which is a song that you wrote. Let's play a little bit of She's a Legend, Joe Bouchard.
Sounds great.
She's a legend. let me go, then I might tell this tale.
Yeah.
Beautiful, and you just heard "She's a Legend" by the legendary Joe Bouchard of Blue Oyster Cult. He's with us. You know, I got a minute left. You're soloing on that album sounds great. Unbelievable,
thanks.
Joe. Yeah,
Thanks.
unbelievable.
I enjoyed that.
So for those listening, they want to pick up your latest album. What can they do? Where can they find you?
Let's see. I'm on all the streaming services, so make sure you listen daily. I really appreciate you putting it in your playlists and all of that stuff. But you can also find all of these albums on my website. There's a merch page, and and they're available on Amazon.com. Check them out. A lot of great stuff. And if I'm playing in your town, bring your albums and I'll sign them.
There it is.
Love
Joe,
doing autographs.
great job, Joe. I appreciate your time. It's an honor.
Hey, thanks, Brian.
Take care of yourself.
Yeah, great.
Bye-bye. The legendary Joe Bouchard of Blue Oyster Cult. Pick up the latest album, joebouchard.com. Until next week, happy collecting to all.